Hey, I want to talk to you a minute about sexuality and reproduction. Um, just a brief introduction. I'm not going to get into detail with this because there's a lot going on here, and it's going to require a lot of reading on your part to fill in the gaps because I'm leaving a lot of gaps. I'm just going to hit the high points. Um, sexual sexuality and reproduction. There are a lot of views. In a minute, you'll hear talk about culture and several other things. Um, but infertility seems to be the real bugaboo here. So that's kind of what a lot of this is going to deal with, and a few other side items. Sorry about all the noise. I'm trying to get things arranged here. Um, At any rate, I won't go into those details either. It's a sore point. People coming and messing with my workspace. So let's get started with what's important rather than my workspace. And let's begin talking about heterosexual couples, just very briefly. Heterosexual couples who are experiencing infertility. And what are the causes? Or not the causes of infertility, but what does infertility cause? It causes sexual problems. Period. I'm not going to go into all of those things. There's a million of them, but just suffice it to say that infertility causes sexual problems. When you have sexual problems in a relationship, you got some serious problems. So that's why there's so much involvement here with research, etc. So I have infertility. It causes sexual problems. Well, guess what? There's another side to that. If you've been diagnosed is probably the best word that I can think of. If you've been diagnosed with infertility, then that creates sexual problems. So infertility in and of itself can be caused by sexual problems, and infertility can cause sexual problems. I hope that makes sense. And then other things can contribute. During a pregnancy, other issues can arise that cause low desire in women, especially during the first trimester. So these are just kind of sub items of what's involved in this infertility thing. Being able to conceive a child and being responsible, the idea that you're going to be responsible for a life, that you're going to have to take on the responsibility of taking care of a child, signals to parents and grandparents and other members in the family, older members, that you are now a fully mature adult, even to yourself. And so here again, pressure. Pressure is related to what we just talked about, infertility in its two forms, either as a cause or causing, whatever the case is. So I'm trying to wrap all of this together for you into one little neat ball of explanation that this stuff is interactive. When you're diagnosed as being infertile, that's normally done by a medical doctor, obviously. They follow a guideline. That guideline is not able to conceive naturally after a year of attempting. So if you are diagnosed from that, as that, then it could bring on feelings of anything from sadness all the way to anxiety, with all the points in between, stress, depression, etc. And not too much in our culture, not nearly as badly as it used to be at any rate, is this being stigmatized as being childless or barren. It kind of gives a person the idea that they're not quite up to par with everybody else, particularly those who have had children in their family. So again, a lot of these external factors that play a role. Now, I want to give you some stats. This isn't a statistics class, never was meant to be, but I think this is interesting. I wanted to point it out to you. Things have changed over time. They always do. Everything changes. It doesn't matter what it is. So this is one of those things that changed sexuality, and in our case right now we're talking about infertility. And the statistics have changed due to several factors, one of which is that people wait later in life now to try to have children. There have been a lot of interesting studies related to that. By the way, I read something, it's a couple of years old now, where couples waiting to have children later in life and then having a child who is challenged, either has a mental or a physical, God, I hate the word, but I'm going to have to use it, defect, something that's not considered, quote, normal, there's new information that says that the age of the father is more important than the age of the mother. Prior to that study, it was just the other way around. So I don't know yet. I don't know if that's going to remain a hypothesis or if it's actually going to be supported theoretically. So statistics, waiting till later in life, and having health problems related to that somewhat. Things like obesity, which may interfere with the ability to conceive. Infertility in that case affects 7% to 17% of all couples in that category. It's a lot of folk. Male infertility occurs in 20% of all infertile couples, all infertile, not just those waiting till later. And then couples with combined male and female infertility make up about 30 to 40% of couples. So you're talking about a large number of people. In about 10 to 15% of the cases, there is no known medical cause. So then what does that leave? That's going to leave psychological things. Psychology is a powerful thing. Your brain, as you well know by now, if your brain isn't happy, sometimes it makes your body unhappy. I hope you got all of that. Let's talk about cultural considerations. In the United States and most European countries, marriage is a combination of romantic fulfillment. This is directly from the text. And then in other parts of the world, not so much. In other parts of the world, the purpose for marriage is simply to produce offspring. I don't think you could apply that to industrialized nations per se, unless there's a subculture living within that main culture. But nonetheless, it's recognized. And the idea of wanting to have children is multifaceted. To the pleasure of the couple for producing offspring and the desire, but also to please extended family members. They want to see the name carried forth, the wealth carried forth, and the family traditions. If in some of these cultures, if you're not able to produce children, if you're infertile, then there's a great deal of stigma. And sometimes it's even hidden from other members of the culture. In Jewish tradition, back in those ancient times, if you couldn't have a child, then many times it was thought that you were being cursed by God, just to give you an example. How do we treat this stuff? Well, there are drugs, obviously. Usually in men, infertility is a congenital problem, or it can be acquired through disease. So medication is paramount for that. That doesn't rule out psychological intervention. And then there are lifestyles that have been shown to have an effect on fertility. This is in men. And some of these include things like bicycling. You see these folk all the time out doing their exercise that way rather than jogging or whatever, doing a lot of cycle riding. Soaking in hot water, I had never heard that before till I read some parts of that the other day. Wearing tight underwear, oh my gosh. Won't go there. Smoking, drinking alcohol, and then environmental toxins, teratogens, can have an effect on male infertility. In women, the most common reasons for infertility are just due to lack of ovulation, and that could be a hormonal imbalance, scarring of the ovaries, failure of the egg to be produced, and so on and so forth. And then treatments depend on the cause, as in everything. There are medications, but we all have heard the stories about the success or failure of those things. There are drugs for men and women that try to correct hormonal imbalances, and basically that's really all you have open to you. The psychological side, which is more of our interest, is not to treat the infertility, but to treat the person and help them deal with the infertility. So we don't have a lot of medical input there, nor are we supposed to, actually. A couple of last things. Most often the causes of infertility statistically are biological. So that kind of lets us off the hook in a way. You still will have people who want counseling because they are suffering this condition. And then the obvious idea that no matter what the cause is, infertility is heavy in the emotional realm. And there can be anger, there's a lot of hurt, and so on and so forth. So it's up to the therapist, the counselor, to deal with those things. We're not dealing primarily with the infertility, but the results of it. So again, that's common sense. I hope you got something out of this, and I'll be back with you this week with the second chapter. I think it's chapter 15 or 16. I have to look and see. And nonetheless, I hope this was informative for you, and see you soon.